Hello, guys. Listen, for something a little bit different tonight, tell you guys a science fiction story. Make it up myself. And first, I gotta lay out the setting. 2,000 years into our future. The world is totally different than it is now. What's happened is crime was the end of the 21st century. Crime was over, gone. There's no criminals anymore. The reason why is because a criminal couldn't get away with anything. I mean, he'd go across the street, and if he was jaywalking, before he'd even get to the other side of the street, he'd have to pay a fine. Cameras everywhere, and these cameras are all set up to a central computer system where it uses facial recognition type technology to analyze your actions, your very actions, and the computer can analyze whether your actions are normal behavior or something different. And if it's something different, a human analyst would come over and analyze the film and see what you're doing if it was something the computer couldn't understand. And so most times the information would come into the computers, massive quantum computers, and the computer would analyze all the actions everybody was doing. It could even analyze what you were saying. Everything was heard, everything seen. Creates a new type of a world, a new type of a system where your life is totally regulated from birth to death. You know exactly what to expect. Most diseases are gone now. Diseases like cancer. Wars are a thing of the past. People love to read history books and wonder with fascination what it must have been like to go to war. The world has totally changed in many ways. Don't have to carry a wallet with you anymore, or a purse. Your identification and your Earth number is stored right in your wrist. If you want to buy anything, you just run your wrist across the item and it's purchased. Money now is gone. It's been replaced with credits, universal credits. Runs on a digital system. Not much unlike blockchain technology, but a little different. Cars. Cars have changed. The whole Earth's changed. The way we get around has changed. You get inside your car, you don't grab a steering wheel anymore. You lay down in a type of a bucket seat. And you travel along at very high speeds. It's very, very safe because the seat is made out of a type of carbon nanotube type technology, and it's almost indestructible. Strongest part of the new modern cars. The cars are very low to the ground, very streamlined, very aerodynamic, and every highway has a sensor strip built into the highway. It automatically charges your car while you're driving. Oh, by the way, did I tell you, gasoline cars are gone, thing of the past. But the way the world is structured in this modern society of 2,000 years into the future, the way the whole world is structured, everyone is bored. They're always connected to the internet. I mean, your optic implant allows you to explore the internet. While you're awake, all you got to do is the optic implant has over 100 terabytes of information stored on it. And when you're born, just a few days after you're born, they install your optic implant. It's just a simple injection in behind your eye. Connects directly to your brain. And you're able to just think and turn it on. When you turn it on, you can make the screen in front of your eyes, it becomes a complete screen. Or you can see through it, the screen. You can choose the settings. All you have to do is think the settings and you choose them. If you want to watch a movie, you can watch it through your optic implants. If you want to go online, you can watch it through your optic implants. A tracker, the mouse tracker, the little tiny thing that we use now on our computers, is in the optic implant. You just move it around wherever your eyes move. And you just think, click, and you've clicked on that item that you want to click on, so you can browse the internet anytime. The internet's everywhere in our modern society. Oh, but there's so much more. But what all of this has done to us as a people is now we're always bored. We want excitement. Our lives is so boring, it's almost like we're in a prison with no escape. There's no excitement anymore. There's no thrill. There's no... All of that's a thing of the past. People don't even have intimate relationships anymore between people. Their household robots become their intimate relationship. Most people have a household robot. Multi-purpose, multitasking. Most of the young kids now, they'll come home and they'll say to their mother, "I want the new implanted robotic arm." The mother says, "Oh, that'll cost 20,000 credits. We can't afford it." "But Ma, all the other kids are getting them. All I gotta go in is the first step is get my attachment put in." She says, "Well, what's that?" She says, "Well, what they do is they cut your arm off and they put in a clamp directly connected to your bone through the new surgery techniques. No pain or anything. It's outpatient. Takes 1 hour. It's healed the next day, and you can clamp your new robotic arm on. And when you turn it on, it's multi-purpose. It does everything. Listen, Mom, look at what I'll have. I'll have storage in the back of the hand. I can put my pencils for school. I'll have all kinds of different colors I can choose from. Susie's getting one. I want one too." Be all the rage. All the kids will want to have their legs and arms amputated so that they can have cheetah legs and be able to run 40 miles an hour. And they'll snap one attachment off and they'll snap a different attachment on. And they can do multi-purpose, many multi-things that they can do. But everyone will have the optic implant. So, in this world with no crime, you would think it would be a wonderful place. But it's not anymore. World, there's no excitement or anything. So one day, Dan, he wakes up and he talks to his computer, his household computer. He says, "Computer, send the robot to put my clothes on for me, would you please?" And the robot comes in, his household servant robot. She comes up to Dan and she says, "Yes, master. You want your pants put on?" He says, "Yes, please. And can you get me my coffee too?" So the robot goes over, starts making his coffee, comes over, it slides his pants up very carefully, very gently, does his belt zipper and puts his belt on. It even puts on his shoes for him. So he goes into the bathroom and he stands there and he just says, "Service me." And the bathroom is alive too. Immediately, the bathroom starts to clean him. He holds his hands, Dan holds his hands up over his head. And an automatic shower comes in and washes him down. An automatic machine comes out of the wall. It looks like a hand, and it starts to scrub him in different places on his body. Shortly thereafter, he's clean. And so he goes in and he has his tea and some eggs and stuff like that, and he decides to take a walk today. So he straps on. He's only had enough money to buy one robotic leg. He straps on his robotic leg and he starts to head into town. So he's walking down the street. And Dan likes to walk. He doesn't like he's an old-fashioned kind of guy. He studied the ancient history, and he's a real history buff. And his favorite period in time, as in most people in this new society, their favorite period of time they love to study is from the year 1990 to the year 2020. They love to study that period in time in human history because it was a period in time where mankind was going through a period where they weren't really into the modern age, but they were coming out of it was a very romantic period in time in human history, and all the people are addicted. A lot of people are addicted to studying this period in human history. So, as he's walking down the street, he looks up and he sees a billboard flashing. It says, "Come to Mega Industry. We have the vacation for you." So he looks up at the billboard and he thinks to himself, "Oh, if I only had 100,000 credits, I could take the trip of a lifetime with Mega Industries and their trips." He knows what it's all about. It's a tremendous, fantastic experience. He says, "I always wanted to try that. It only takes 4 hours to go on the vacation of a lifetime with Mega Industries." Amazing trip. A trip in time. So, he takes all the money he has out of the bank and he asks them for a loan of credits. And he puts his new car up for sale, and he sells almost everything he has. He sells his antique wristwatch. And it's a very expensive wristwatch, and the reason why is because it's not like your modern wristwatch that a lot of people have that is actually a very powerful quantum computer. No, this is an old-fashioned wristwatch that you have to wind. A wind-up wristwatch. It's a real antique. It's like 1,000 years old. So he sells it, too. And the wristwatch does the trick. He gets 80,000 credits for it. So Dan's all happy. So he wakes up that morning. He's going to take his trip. The day of the trip. Amazing. I get to take the magical trip. Everybody's doing it. A lot of people have tried it. In the modern population of this new world of over 50 billion people, almost 8 billion people have tried this new trip. An amazing experience. He can't wait. And he knows that even though the trip is only for 4 hours, 4 hours time in this world, that he will be roughly 70 or 80 years on this trip. So it's worth every bit of the 100,000 credits. Because that's a whole lifetime this trip will last. And he'll be able to escape this prison of this life in this new modern world. He'll be able to escape. This is a prison for the mind. Because nothing ever happens here. There's nothing. So, he walks down the street with a real pep in his step today, because today is the day he's going to be able to take his trip. So he walks in the door. There's cubicles as far as the eye can see. These small little cubicles. He walks down one row of cubicles and he kind of peers inside one of the little windows. And there's a woman lying there. She's laying in liquid. Totally naked. And she's got wires attached to her brain. And he can see her body twitching and her eyes kind of twitching a little bit. And she's obviously asleep. And she's laying there sideways in this gelatinous liquid. And he puts his ear up against the window and he can hear kind of soothing music playing inside the chamber. She's taking the trip. Oh, I can't wait. So the lady's there walking him down the hallway, past cubicle after cubicle. And she says to Dan, she says, "This is your cubicle. We have to prepare you now for your trip." So Dan goes, and he goes in for germ analysis and a number of other treatments that they do. They sit him down in a chair and they oil his body with a special oil, scented oil. It was very relaxing. The lady was rubbing her hands over Dan very gently, and he was almost ready to fall asleep. And he says, have you taken this trip before? And she says, no, but she says, I know generally the outline of what happens. She says, what you're going to do, Dan, is, and I don't know if we've explained this to you before. I know you have a general knowledge of what this trip entails. She says, but basically it works like this. She says, you get into the chamber, and we connect your brain up to this mega quantum computer. It's a massive mainframe quantum computer that our industries of our company has built. She says it was challenging. It took us many years to build such a powerful quantum computer. The Earth's most powerful quantum computer. She says. She says right now, while we speak, there's over 8 billion people's minds connected to this powerful quantum computer. And she said, inside the mind of this powerful quantum computer, this quantum computer generates a world. And it connects this world directly to your brain. But she says that's not all. She says you will become a player in this world. And all other 8 billion people at these centers where we do this, that are going on this trip, are in this world simultaneously. She says it starts every 4 hours. She says, but, she said, you won't experience this experience as 4 hours long. Even though here in the real world, she says, it only lasts 4 hours. She says, when you go into this artificially generated world that's generated by computer, and the computer interacts with your brain, she says it's going to seem so real to you. And you'll be playing with 8 billion others simultaneously. He said, oh, I read about things like this. They used to have something similar to this back in the 20th century in computer games where people used to play together in a simulated environment. She says, yes, it's very similar to that. Except, in this case, she said, the environment is constantly changing according to your thoughts and the thoughts of the others who are in this environment. He says, oh, how does that work? And she says, well, it works very elaborately. She says, and in great detail. She said, when you're in this environment, you won't know that you're in this environment. You'll think everything is real. He says, oh, amazing. He says, how do you accomplish that? He says, I'll wake up into this new world. If I get this right, he said, I'll wake up into this new world and I'll remember this world here that we're in. He says, and I'll know that this is just computer generated. She says, now this is a fine point I want to point out to you, Dan. Our computer, when you enter into this new world, this new game environment, she says what the computer does is it completely erases your memories. He says, oh no, I don't want to do that. Maybe this is not for me. She said, oh Dan, don't worry, she said. Don't worry. Because after the experience is over, after 4 hours ends, when you come back, you'll get all your memories back. He says, oh, thank God. She says, okay, I get my memories back of who I am? She says, yes, so don't worry. It's only for 4 hours. He says, but I'm a little bit confused. Didn't you say that it was actually 70 or 80 years? She says, yes. She said, the experience will seem like 70 or 80 years. She said, because what we do is we have every 20 seconds, we have a sleep cycle. And she said, why we do that is, she said, if we were to run this experience continuously, so much information, the computer is streaming so much information into your brain while you're asleep, that your brain would overheat. This is a simple way for me to tell you what would happen to you, is your brain would overheat. She said, but we pulse it in, she said, in 20-second intervals. But she said, in the real world, it's 20 seconds, she said, but in the game world that you're entering into, it'll be every 24 hours. He says, oh, I see. And she says another thing, Dan. We always start this game with you being born as an infant, and you have to grow up in this game. He says, oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. Yes, Dan. So are you ready for this experience? She said, this experience, she said, is like nothing you've ever experienced before. You're going to lose your safety. She said, here in this world, we've solved all problems. You have safety. You are coddled by the government. She said, you know what your job is. You do it. You know what your life expectancy is. You know how you're going to be cared for. Every problem has been solved for you here. Are you sure you do not want to stay here? She said, because when you enter into this game world environment, at times you're going to be absolutely terrified and not know what to do. And there's no way out. You're in there, she said, for 4 hours here, but for 70 or 80 years. She said, are you really sure you want to go through with this? Dan says, he says, listen to her. I'm so bored. I'm so frustrated with my life here. I can't stand it any longer. I have to experience this. I have to know what it's like to experience pain, sorrow, pleasure, to experience great emotions. He says, I have to know what it feels like. She says, well, okay, Dan, but don't say I didn't warn you. She says, other players in this game, too. Some of them do not play fair. She said, some of them are downright evil. Others are good. And when you're in this game environment, you won't know the difference between some of them, whether they're good or evil. She says, I want to warn you before you enter into this game that when the computer erases your memories of here, you'll have to learn a new language, the language of your parents. Your parents might be good or they might be bad. Your conditions of your environment might be good or it might be bad. I have to warn you, this experience might be terrifying to the extreme. He says, okay, I want to go. I want to experience it. He says, I'm going to be coming back in 4 hours, right? She says, right. She said, crawl in to the chamber and let me hook you up. So Dan crawls into the warm fluid. Feels nice around his body. She shuts the door. He's already got all of the wires connected to his brain, and he lays there in the salty, warm fluid, and he notices that even though it's like water, he can't sink. He floats on the surface of this soft, warm fluid. And after a little while, he hears this soothing music, and he sees a hologram floating in front of him that slowly makes him sleepier and sleepier, and he realizes that he's been connected so that his body is being almost like anesthetized, and his eyes fall shut. And as his eyes fall shut, he lays there and he's listening to the warm, beautiful sounds of the music, and he starts to drift off to sleep. And within about 2 or 3 minutes, all of a sudden he wakes up. When he wakes up, he can't remember anything that happened before. He wakes up, and it's bright in this room, and this doctor's smacking his backside, and he's spinning around in the air. Where am I? He thinks to himself. What is this place? And he starts screaming, and his feet are up in the air, and there's an umbilical cord dangling from his stomach as he spins around in the air. And it's all a blur. He doesn't even know how to speak anymore, and he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what he is or where he is. And a nurse wraps a warm towel around him and lays him next to his mother. And it's wonderful. It's a new beginning for him. Well, I guess that's the end of the story. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys later.